First of all, and I know you're a very famous journalist, and you do blog as well.
I do.
Yeah.
I do a blog,
And
Journey to Justice.
yeah. So as you know, nowadays there are like all kinds of new medium.
I know.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So
What I think about all
uh-huh.
that? I think it's exciting. It's a really exciting time to be a journalist because you've got everything from video on the go and blogs and you know
Twitter.
I
Right.
think it's instantaneous news now. It's in fact you sometimes all you're doing is getting a simple piece of information, a sentence, if nothing more, on Twitter or wherever it is, and I like that. I like the instantaneousness of it. The downside of it is it means a lot more work to kind of feed the beast, if you know what I mean. You have to do a lot more work than just daily kind of for the print newspaper. But I like that. I like all the technology. It makes me wish I was younger because I would have enjoyed all this growing up.
And nowadays it's like those young generation. They just believe everything they be told like by the news.
The internet, yeah.
Or the internet.
I think the real downside to it is that people don't read books anymore. And for example, you may only find, believe it or not all information is on the internet. And so people think the internet, well, if I went and looked on the internet, that's the sum total of the information. Well, no, I mean, there are books and libraries full of these things and that may not be online and other things like that. So it's the other thing is, I would say to young journalists, if you're willing to go and do that kind of work, if you're willing to go and actually do that kind of research, it'll make you a much better reporter than if you just strictly go on the internet. Oh, there it is. I think that qualifies as research. It really you need more than that.
And there's some like news there like when you watch TV or
Right.
like those news, they just like they don't want to talk about some kind of subjects like in the report of the Ryan Roof.
Yeah, Dylan
That
Roof.
case,
Dylan
and
Roof, yeah.
a lot of news they just refer him as Mister.
Right. Yeah, I know that Merle Evers was very upset about I was with her, and she was real upset about Dylan Roof being referred to as Mister. Yeah, some of the older newspapers like New York Times and Wall Street Journal keep those courtesy titles. The sad part of the rest of the story, to kind of explain the context of why she was so upset, is when she was here in Mississippi in the 1960s, Mississippi newspapers, which were white basically, would not use courtesy titles toward African Americans. That's hard to believe and it's upsetting, but that was the case at the time. And so her own husband, in reporting, they would never use a courtesy title, Medgar Evers, and he fought to change that. But, and so that's one of the reasons he was killed. I mean, really. So you can understand why she would be upset that he would get a courtesy title, when her husband was denied one.
Okay. And then you just talk about a lot about justice and so like Clinton, he said
Bill Clinton.
he said he put too many people into prison and sentenced them like too many years.
Right.
And then not long ago, President Obama.
Yeah, he said something similar to that.
He
He's
just
talking about
he was the first one to pay the visit to the federal prison.
That is interesting. I thought about it from that perspective. More needs to be done. I mean, clearly what's happening in our society is happening in Mississippi. I'm working on a project for us. There's this, for lack of a term, over-sentencing that's taking place. And so people, one I'm writing about, this kid, basically, first-time offender, was guilty of multiple burglaries. and he ended up getting 50 years. And so that's a lot of time for a first-time offender to get just for burglary. And so yeah, those are kind of some of the issues, we're looking at.
And during the trial of
Which trial?
let me see,
Killen?
Edgar Killen.
Yeah, Edgar Killen.
Someone just called him on the phone and left a voice message like, some local folks, they just said, actually, he has already suffered a lot. You don't have to really put him into prison. So
Right.
just what kind of justice do you just think about?
Yeah, there was the judge initially was going to let him out without bond, on appeal, and then, but he had told the judge, I can't get around, I can't do anything, I'm in the wheelchair around the clock, and then about 3 weeks later, I got a call, or actually an email, and then it led to a call where I found out that he was out driving around, and he was, walking around filling up his truck, and so I did a story about it, and so he got hauled back to court, and they sent him to prison. So yeah, that's one of them.
And I just want to ask you maybe a lot about the police brutality, because I am just starting to doing a research about this.
Yeah, it does happen. I mean, we've got video now showing, either shootings, it's cold-blooded shootings, or people being beaten, unnecessarily. I mean, there's never a right time, I guess, but if a police officer being assaulted, you understand why a police officer may retaliate, but it's not that kind of situation in some of these cases. So it's just sad to see. So those cases need to be investigated.
And during the late 15th, those young college students, they just started the civil rights movement. And
Right.
then in the early 16th, people of different ages and classes, they just got involved. And,
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, and then in 1965, I think that's a turning point, because it just turned from nonviolence into a more militant and violent.
Yeah, one of the big events was here. I mean, you had it was kind of symbolic of what you're talking about, which was the Meredith March. They called it the Meredith March. James Meredith started this one-man march from Memphis, Tennessee, down to Jackson, Mississippi.
Yeah.
And he got shot on the way. Well, then Martin Luther King and others came in here to kind of finish the march, and it got a lot of national attention. And that was kind of, I always think it was kind of the last great gasp, at least in Mississippi, of the united civil rights movement. And so you had all your major civil rights groups were involved in that march and worked together. But by that, you could begin to see the beginnings of division. SNCC was no longer headed by John Lewis. It was Stokely Carmichael, who obviously is a lot more radical. And so Stokely, on that march, began to use that phrase, Black Power. And so, in fact, it was used down the street here at the Mississippi Capitol. That was the largest gathering I'm aware of in the civil rights movement in Mississippi. And they just put up a historical marker to it the other day. And so, yeah. And so, but at the Capitol, he said, "What do we want?" And the SNCC volunteers were like, "Black Power, Black Power." So that was kind of the end of the united kind of civil rights movement.
And so there's a non-violent approach to justice. Yeah,
Correct.
there's a kind of violent justice.
Well, it wasn't really necessarily violent. I'd say probably it might have been violent. I mean, some might have been violent, like if they were outright violent to others. I mean, obviously so, but they were quote unquote self-defense. I mean, you had the Deacons for Defense and other people, and the way they viewed themselves was, we're not going to shoot you, but if you come and you try to get us, we will shoot you. You know, we will shoot back
There's a new book.
yeah,
You should back.
as a book says. So, anyway.
Okay. And
Anything else?
yeah, just last.
Sure.
Do you have like any suggestions for the young generation?
Absolutely. I mean, like journalism, documentary filmmaking, or any of that? I would say persistence. I mean, I think it's real easy to get discouraged and think, nothing's happening, but just persist and kind of see it through. I think that's the key to any success, is never give up.
And a lot of young generation, they actually cannot really learn those true history.
Yeah, they need to know that
And
history.
yeah,
Yeah, there needs more needs to be done to teach, all our history. I mean, I think it's the idea we kind of confine our history, I think, too much in terms of there are things that have taken place that we need to learn from people we can learn from.
and a lot of times just me.
Yeah.
I just got confused, like
Right.
all those news, like.
Right.
Do you have any suggestions?
Oh, you're talking about in terms of learning all that? But there's some real good books. I mean, Taylor Branch did a series of books on the civil rights movement. It's mainly through Martin Luther King's eyes, but it's really good.
So maybe I need to.
Yeah, read that. I would say read those and start there.
Okay.
Good place
Just
to start.
spend more time to do
Yeah,
the
just
research.
try to read about it. And the more you read about that kind of stuff, David Halberstam has a book called The Children. That's a pretty good example of either of those, I think, are an excellent place to start. Halberstam is maybe easier, just from the standpoint it's a single book, and go from there. Once you have kind of a framework and understand where it fits in the frame, it's a lot easier to learn than if you just kind of start to learn things scattered. You kind of need a framework. Where does this go? Where does it fit? Oh yeah, okay, this this began after Vietnam protest or whatever, where it fits in.
Thank you so much,
Yeah,
sir.
you're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you.